Hi and welcome to this episode of the Ron Paul FLIX Show. I'm your host, Israel Anderson. On this show, we have a very special guest, Senior Campaign Advisor to the Ron Paul campaign, Doug Wead, will be joining us for a really special extended interview. We've also got Lisa Carr, who is the President of Youth for Ron Paul at Clemson University in South Carolina. Lisa's going to be telling us, now that our primaries and caucuses are over, what can we do? Let's get back to Lisa right after this short announcement. I want to take a brief moment to tell you about this amazing new website that's going to help us to get out the vote for Ron Paul. And this is simply Ron Paul Volunteer. You can find it at ronpaulvolunteer.com. Now, Ron Paul Volunteer is a different site to anything else that's come before. You can sign up over here, and what it's going to enable you to do is you can come up here and choose your state. I use my little mouse down here to select it, and once this loads here, you'll see a map of the country here. Choose the state you're in. I'm in Colorado here, and you can then register in this area to make sure that you can get involved. You can go down as granular as your precinct. You can look up people once you've we have a little system here where you can become a local organizer. Once you become a local organizer, we kind of do a little bit of background checking on you to make sure you're not someone from another campaign that's trying to cause some damage. But once we give you access as an organizer, you can get in there at your precinct level. You can look up the people around you. Even on a Google map, you can zoom right into your street. You can see the registered voters, both Republican and Democrat, if you're in an open primary state. And you can select those people and you can make contact with them. And you'll be able to see at a glance if those people have already been contacted, so we don't end up duplicating other people's efforts and annoying people. Please get along to the site, register right now. Super Tuesday is coming up, and this is truly going to help us in a very big way. You can email people if they've provided their email address in their voter registration. You can text message people. You can call them, which is the best way always. Call them and ask them to come out and vote on caucus or primary day, depending on what your state is, and vote for Ron Paul. So please get along here right now, ronpaulvolunteer.com, and let's get back to the rest of the show. And welcome back. With me today is Lisa Carr, who is the President for Youth for Ron Paul at Clemson University in South Carolina. And Lisa's here to tell us today, now that our primaries and caucuses are over, because almost half of them are, with Super Tuesday just being last night, what do we do now with all this free time that we have and campaign resources that we've got left over and all those kinds of things? So welcome to the show, Lisa. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. So
tell us, you're right there, at ground level in South Carolina there. What can people do now if their primaries and caucuses are now over?
Well, first off, the most important thing right now is working with the Phone from Home program. The Ron Paul campaign has said time and time again that this is vital to the success of their campaign. As a college student, it's a really easy program to work with, very intuitive. You can sign up for the program at phone.ronpaul2012.com. It's a very simple program, and so that's the #1 thing you need to be doing right now.
Excellent. I know that even for us here in Colorado, we've got a lot of campaign resources left over. We turned some of them into our set here, cut up some of the campaign posters and make sure they stay in use. But for other people that may not know what they can do with the stuff, what can they do? Can they send it off somewhere? Can somebody else be using this?
Yeah, definitely. That's one thing that needs to be done too, is gathering up any unused campaign materials. That includes, signs, yard signs, any kind of brochures, buttons, even T-shirts. They need to be gathered up. And one way to really get in contact with the campaign or the Youth for Ron campaign is through Facebook. All of the chapters have their individual Facebooks. So you need to find the group that has the current campaign or caucus going on, and then ask for an address of a chapter leader and send it to them so that they can use those campaign materials with the current campaign.
Great. Now, I'm imagining that some people might have a little bit more time than others. Maybe some people, they've finished their schooling for a while, or they're taking a break, or they've graduated. Is there a way that if you've got more hands-on time, you could be doing a little more?
Yes, absolutely. Youth for Ron Paul's just released a new program. It's an internship volunteer program. And basically what it is, you'll be working with the actual Ron Paul campaign. If you have a little bit of extra time, you can apply for this program. And if you're accepted, you'll be working with the full-time staff as a member of the Ron Paul campaign. So that program is available at youthforronpaul.com/volunteer. So that's where the application's at.
Great. Now, what kind of activities have you been doing there in South Carolina, and can you kind of recommend to other chapters around the country where they're still working at preparing for their caucus or primary?
Well, if the caucus or primary hasn't occurred yet, it's really important to get out and do some tabling events at the different university, passing out different brochure, different campaign material, getting big groups of people together to go canvass different areas. We did a lot of door-to-door knocking, just asking people, if they could tell us who they were planning to vote for, if they're undecided, informing them about the candidates, including Ron Paul, and then leaving different campaign material with them was really important with the campaign here in South Carolina.
Excellent. And of course, people can join the new website, ronpaulvolunteer.com, and also use that to help get out the vote on primary and caucus day as well. It seems to be one of the little problems that we're having in this campaign is getting out the vote. Do you have any tips or suggestions to people on caucus and primary day on how they can get their fellow students to actually get out and vote?
Well, it's really important just to stay in contact with those who have pledged support for Ron Paul. That's something that we really stressed during the campaign here, was getting contact information, getting phone numbers, email addresses, and then calling to remind them about the primary and what they needed to do to go vote. If they weren't registered yet, they needed to be doing that a month early, so we reminded them about that. So that's something that you definitely need to be thinking about, is being in contact with those who have pledged support for Ron Paul.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much for coming on the show. We appreciate your advice, and we will be right back with Doug Wead after this short announcement.
America is in trouble.
Washington is a disgrace.
Government has become too big. It's overtaxing, overspending.
We need to change direction.
We really need change.
We can't afford to make the same mistakes we've made in the past.
Mitt Romney's reputation as a flip-flopper.
He went the other way when he got paid to go the other way.
There is need for economic stimulus.
It's about serial hypocrisy.
This election is about trust.
There's been one true consistent candidate, and that's Dr. Ron Paul.
Ron Paul has been so consistent from the very beginning.
He seems like a more honest candidate.
He tells the truth about what he believes, whether you like it or not.
He's never once voted for a tax increase, never once voted for an unbalanced budget.
Ron Paul's plan is bold, cuts 5 departments. It's what we need.
When he says he's going to cut $1 trillion in the first year, I believe it.
If you don't like how things are going and you're tired of politicians, he's something different.
Ron Paul.
Ron Paul.
Ron Paul.
Ron Paul
is the one we've been looking for.
I'm Ron Paul, and I approve this message.
And welcome back to the Ron Paul FLIX Show. My special guest today is Senior Campaign Advisor to the Ron Paul campaign, Doug Wead. Doug, it is a pleasure to have you on our show.
Thank you. Great to be with you, Israel.
Now, before this morning, I asked people on Twitter and Facebook for their questions for you. We got a lot of those questions in, and we'll get to some of those in a minute. But Super Tuesday was last night. People are not feeling too great. How's Ron Paul feeling about the results from last night?
Oh, well, his whole focus is on delegates, so he's feeling good because of what he's being told and how our people are doing. And if they keep doing what they're doing, that is, if they participate at the precinct level, then at the county level, and then at the state level, if they hang in there and keep doing what they're doing, we're going to really pull some surprises this season. Of course, he would have loved to have had a win just because the media's making such a big deal out of it. It's such a crock because for 2 years we won all these meaningless beauty contests, and they'd say, yeah, but there are no delegates. And now we're winning some delegates, and they're saying, yeah, but you're not winning any of the beauty contests. So very interesting. We'd like to win one, of course. It would have been exciting. but we're right on schedule, and we're changing the country. We're going back to a balanced budget, back to a constitutional form of government. And it's not easy. It's quite a challenge, but he's not discouraged at all. I think he's a born optimist.
Right. So where are we in the delegate count right now? Because if we're watching the media, we're getting conflicting reports from every single channel. We're getting that some are saying in the Ron Paul movement we're actually in first place. Some are saying we're in second, some are third, some we're coming last. Where exactly are we coming right now?
Well, we don't know. We won't know until the state conventions, but we have a pretty good feel for it because we know how many of our delegates that we filed at the precinct level and whether they won election in some states, and how many of those in some cases won at the district level or at the county level and are going to the state convention. But until the state conventions, there won't be absolute proof of what we've done. But based on what we've done at the precinct level in most of these caucus states, we're very excited. We probably won Minnesota and Maine and maybe even Colorado and Nevada, and certainly large numbers in those states. Iowa. The best example of how all of this is working out at the state level is Iowa. In Iowa, the state party chairman, who was obvious Romney supporter, he delayed the results, the announcement of the results of the Iowa caucus as long as he could. Because Romney wasn't winning. He resigned, and so they elected and chose a new state chairman, and that new state chairman was A.J. Spiker, the co-chairman of the Ron Paul for President campaign in Iowa. So it gives you an idea of how we're reshaping the Republican Party and how that process has begun. That's very encouraging.
Right, and definitely I can see here in my state of Colorado where we're having a fantastic impact on the state. And in the state of Colorado, we have probably 50% of all the elected positions in the GOP party here, which is fantastic, which we've done over the last 4 years.
Yeah, there you go. Now, it doesn't mean we're out of the woods. There are all kinds of games that can be played.
Right.
Romney can get to a certain point, 800, 900 delegates, and then he can appeal to state chairmen in some of these states to have conventions to retroactively change the rules of who the delegation will be to Tampa. All kinds of games can be played. Some states allow that, other states don't. So it's an ongoing process. It's very exciting, and it isn't over. We're changing America and we're changing the world, so we got to hang tough.
Okay, so that considered, what are our chances realistically of winning the nomination? I would ask the presidency, but if we win the nomination, it's guaranteed we'd win the presidency. We see the numbers, but getting the nomination is a significantly harder thing to do. How are we doing there? Is it still possible that we can win the nomination?
It's possible, but it's very unlikely. Now, as you pointed out in the polls, which is just fascinating to me, the last poll, Obama head-to-head, we did better than everybody. We did better than Romney. We did better than Gingrich and better than Santorum. It got very little play in the media, and the media people who read it were almost shocked, like they were almost sorry that it had slipped out of their mouth. I mean, that's the definition of news. You know, man bites dog. That's news. Well, Ron Paul beating Obama and doing better than everybody else in the Republican Party, that was definitely qualified as news. Didn't get a lot of attention, but I'll tell you, it got attention inside the Ron Paul campaign. We saw what was going on. We know that this country has awakened to many of the ideas that Ron Paul's been talking about.
Okay, so in order to improve our chances of winning the nomination, even if it is, as you say, slim, what can we do? I mean, obviously we've got a serious get-out-the-vote problem here. How can we get out the vote for Ron Paul? What do we need to change in our strategy here?
Yeah, well, we need to understand that every vote counts, and that, you know, it's a shame when Ron Paul can pull 4,000 people to an event and they come to hear Ron Paul and satisfy themselves for seeing and touching someone who's running for president, and then they don't show up and vote in the caucus, which could change America. So we've got to do our duty. We can't expect the campaign and Ron Paul to carry this whole load. We've got to carry our part. I tell you, I voted in Virginia yesterday on Super Tuesday. I never felt better in my life in any election I've ever been part of, coming out of that voting polling booth. having voted for Ron Paul. I felt wonderful. Here, Israel, this is a $50 trillion note on the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. And for $50 trillion, you could ride the bus. And that's what happens when you have runaway, unbelievable inflation created by a central bank that just keeps printing money. And so what we're doing is pretty remarkable. My wife is French, and the other day she was talking to me. She said, you know, when Francois Mitterrand ran for president, he ran as a socialist, and there was no shame in that. That's what he was. And his program, his platform was nationalizing the banks. And there was a big debate in France. Should we nationalize the banks? Should we not nationalize the bank? And it won. The socialists won. Francois Mitterrand was elected president, and he was the socialist president of France. And he nationalized the banks for 2.5 years. And then the French decided it wasn't working the way they thought it was working, and so they went back. But my wife says, in the United States of America, your president, George W. Bush, he nationalizes the banks, and you call him a conservative Republican. She says, I don't understand how this works. So I had to explain to her. And in the process of explaining to her, I realized how stupid it is. The left and right is gone. There's no more a left or right. There's people who are gaming the system. They're Democrats and Republicans, and they're making money off the system. They're making money off of many of the government programs, and there are people who want to reform it and get it back to a free marketplace that's fair and open to everybody.
Right. And Doug, talking about gaming the system, a question that has been popping up time and time again over the last 4 to 6 weeks is there vote fraud taking place? And at first people were kind of hesitant to raise the topic for fear of being conspiracy theorists, but I've got to say, even for myself, it's beginning to look almost obvious that vote fraud is taking place. Is this an illusion? Are we just losing this fairly, or is there something unfair going on here?
Of course there's voter fraud, but you can't do anything about it unless you have facts, unless you can prove it. And that's just human nature. People in positions of power, when there isn't full accountability, you know, you have 2 people count the church offering. It's not because everybody in church is a thief. It's just because it's good to have good systems in place. And there are sometimes at the precinct level and at the county level, at the state level there, of course. We just had an incident in Iowa where the actual numbers were known, and they weren't published. And day after day, they were kept secret and finally published just on this cycle. We had the situation in Maine where entire counties were not counted for fear that they were going to be too many votes in there for Ron Paul. Right. So there are some that are documented. And I would say to our people, quit complaining about it, go to work and get us some evidence and some details. You know, bring your cell phone and tape record and photograph. Let's keep this process honest and do our best. But it's still an exciting process. Who would have dreamed that Dr. Paul would have done as well as he has, as effective as he is? He's going to go to this convention. He's going to go with a large delegation, and he's going to be a voice that is heard, not just in the United States, but worldwide.
Right, and let's talk about that convention for a little bit. We know that a lot of the delegates that are going there are bound to the candidate that won them. And whether that is Romney or Santorum, we know that on the first vote on the convention floor, they must, because of their state's rules, vote for that candidate. If there was a broker convention, it's my understanding we haven't had a broker convention for 40 years or more, then there would be a second vote take place. And on that second vote, it's my understanding that everybody becomes unbound and then could vote for whoever they choose. Some people are suggesting that if that occurred on the second vote, Ron Paul would win by a landslide because we have put most of our people into those delegate spots. Is this right? Is this wrong? How do you see the convention playing out without delegates?
Well, it's right and wrong. You're right and wrong on several points. Every state is different. for example, in the state of Nevada, yes, they must, on the first ballot, whoever the delegates are, even if they're all Ron Paul people, supporters who won election at the precinct level, then the county or district level, then at the state level, and they're the official delegation from Nevada, they still must vote proportionately the way the votes came in the beauty contest in Nevada on the first ballot. On the second ballot, they're free. So there's an example of what you were describing. But you're incorrect when you say that's true of every caucus state. It's not. There are many caucus states where they're absolutely not bound at all to the beauty contest. The beauty contest is totally irrelevant. That's why we were kind of crying foul when the media was making such a big deal out of it, saying, well, Santorum won Minnesota. No, he didn't. We won Minnesota. We think we've won. Now, Romney and Santorum's people are fighting desperately. They're cooperating with each other to try to block our people. There was the word out at one point, don't vote for any delegate under the age of 40, because that'll be a Ron Paul supporter, to try to keep us from winning votes to get to the county level or district level and then to the state level. So there, and Maine is another example. I'll be very surprised if we didn't win the most delegates eventually out of Maine. So those will be our delegates, and they can vote on the first ballot for Ron Paul. They're not bound at all by the beauty contest. And Missouri is another example. They had a beauty contest in Missouri, and Santorum won it, but they haven't even begun. They're just beginning the process of choosing the delegation from Missouri, and it has nothing at all to do with that statewide vote they had. And these are rules, some of them have existed for many, many years, state rules that have been tweaked. In many cases, the rules this time around were designed for Mitt Romney to help him get the nomination. And we are the poor man's campaign, the people campaign. We can't print money like this $50 trillion bill from Zimbabwe, but our opponents can. Our number one contributor to Mitt Romney's Goldman Sachs. Federal Reserve prints money, can give them money. They don't give us money. So we've got quite a challenge, but we are doing it because of the dedicated people out there who haven't given up, who aren't afraid to speak up.
Well, we certainly haven't given up, Doug, but I've noticed, though, that we're having some real trouble raising finances that we were not having earlier on. Yet from what you've just told me, it seems very plausible that we could still end up with the most delegates. So this is still a campaign we need to fight for, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Our opponents would like nothing better than to bluff us out of this campaign. That's what they've been doing. I mean, this has been going on now for several years. You know, Ron Paul can't win. He's not electable. The last Rasmussen poll shows we do better against Obama than all of them. And yet, their own polling proves their bias. Because in their own polls, when I say they, NBC, Marist, ABC, Washington Post, in any of these polls, when they ask, do you think Ron Paul can be elected president, only about 8 or 9% of the American people believe that he can, and yet their same polls show that that's incorrect, that he actually does better than everybody against Obama. So there's the evidence in their own poll that there is bias, and that's pretty tough. You have to be smart, and you got to know your history, and you got to know enough about monetary policy to be able to tell when Mitt Romney is talking out of the side of his mouth, and when Santorum is wrong, and Gingrich is wrong.
Now, Doug, I see something here that could be kind of interesting. Even though Super Tuesday last night has been and gone, we still have more than 50% of the states in the union left to go.
And some of the states, Israel, some of the best for us, because this whole thing was gamed for Romney, they moved Florida up. They moved a lot of states, they moved around. Some actually helped us, but most of them were designed to help Romney by moving them around. And some of these states still to come are good states for us. And all we have to do is get a few delegates in each one when we have the opportunity, when it's not a winner-take-all.
Yeah. So, Doug, I saw on CNN some comment about a candidate having to win a single beauty contest, in other words, winning one state at least, in order to be eligible to be the nominee at the convention. Have you ever heard of this before?
No, I think there is a rule that you have to have 5 state delegations or something before you can put your name in nomination for president at the convention. My understanding is that was the rule. And but I think we'll be able to do that, because that doesn't mean win the beauty contest. That means have the majority of the delegates in that state delegation. And I think we're going to do that in a number of states, and enough, I believe, to be nominated.
So I'm seeing this as a potential kind of a Trojan horse victory here. Right now, they think we're history. We haven't won the beauty contest in a single state. They're not expecting us to win anymore. They're seeing that our Ron Paul supporters are not raising the funds that they were 3-5 months ago. So they think we're gone. I guess we're going to become less of a consideration to them right now. They're going to stop focusing on us, and they're going to start focusing on their own victory, which for us could be exactly what we need to sneak in the back door and actually start winning some of these states. But one of the problems I see is that we're simply not raising the funds right now. But if we did have the money coming in, and we could run the ads on TV, it looks like we could actually push through this and start winning some of these states.
Well, the best affirmation of that point is when we had the money to go on the air and advertise. We took out Newt Gingrich, and we took out Rick Santorum in Michigan. We took out Newt Gingrich in Iowa when he was at 50-60, but we took Rick Perry out of the race. So we could take Mitt Romney too if we had enough money. He's got a ton of money. So you're right, money's everything. Money talks. We need to raise that money, folks. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. I know you're not feeling very well today, and this was a very last-minute organized interview, so I really do appreciate it. Thanks so much, Doug. Thank you. We appreciate all you do, Israel.
Thank you.
It's a great network.
Thank you.
Is this dude serious? Fiscal conservative? Really? Santorum voted to raise the debt ceiling 5 times, doubled the size of the Department of Education, then supported the biggest entitlement expansion since the 60s. Not groovy. Santorum voted to send billions of our tax dollars to dictators in North Korea and Egypt, and even hooked Planned Parenthood up with a few $1 million. Rick Santorum, a fiscal conservative? Fake.
I'm Ron Paul, and I approve this message.
And welcome back. As you heard in that interview with Doug Wead, one of the most important things we need to do right now is keep raising the money. Without the money coming in, they can't put the ads on TV. And we're raising right now, I don't know the percentage, but probably only about 20% of what we were just 6 to 8 months ago. If we can change that, I believe we still have the potential to win this nomination. It's not going to be easy, but I do believe we can do it. Please head along to Ron Paul's website, ronpaul2012.com, and make a donation today so we can get these ads like you just saw on the air. As Doug was saying, we knocked out some of the other candidates from the race, like Rick Perry, because of the ads that we were able to run. If we can run these ads, which are proven to work, then we have a much, much better chance of winning the nomination. So please don't give up hope yet. We can do this. Secondly, the Ron Paul campaign is not the only people that need a few bucks. This show takes a very long time to render on the computer once it's been filmed and edited. And so we're building a render farm. We have a little page on our website. Up here you can click on this new link, partner. And here you will find that we've got a couple of chip-ins here to raise money for this new computing cluster that will enable us to render the show. If you watch this just after we put it up, then you'll notice that it's fairly low quality. We've done that because we need to render this small, and this will take about 3 or 4 hours just to create a low quality version. To create a higher quality version, we need to produce this render farm, and somebody has put together this $4,000 computer, which is incredibly cheap, which is actually 6 computers in one, and it fits into this red metal drawers that IKEA sells, and in each drawer there's actually a computer, a full-blown computer. And what happens is when we're rendering this, the computer sends off tasks to these other 6 computers, and they all crunch the data so that I'll be able to render this whole show within 2 hours and get it up online. So that's very important. If you can come along here, you'll see this chip in at the top for Render Farm. Make a contribution. Now, some people have asked, am I going to continue this show after the campaign? Well, the answer to that is yes. I already have a new name for the show, a new domain name, which we will set up later on at the end of the year, whether we win this or not. And we will continue a show about liberty with some of these fantastic guests that you have been able to see so far. And we will continue to promote liberty this way. I believe this is the new media. And for all those out there watching that are looking at this going, well, I could do something like this too. Please do it. You know, if a whole bunch of us started making our own shows like this, then we would be able to really eat into the impact the mainstream media is able to have on our country. I'm putting together a new website, which I'll be announcing on this show in a few weeks, where I will be collecting all of these types of shows into one place. I believe we can create a freedom, a liberty network, where people have all kinds of input, whether it's radio shows or whether it's TV style shows like this. Imagine what we can do when we can send people along to our own version of CNN that is 100% based on liberty. I have big dreams, and I hope that you'll be able to get behind them for me. Chip in here. Let's make this show something great that encourages other people to replicate it and do their own thing, because competition, as we know in the free market, only makes all of us better and better and better. And if we can have a whole bunch of people making shows like this, I think it will be an absolutely terrific thing. Thank you so much for watching this show. I'm going to endeavor to put out 2 of these a week until we can get our render farm going, and then we can put out 5 a week, 1 every day. So thanks for watching, and see you on the next show. Bye-bye.